Thank you, Eleonora, for inviting me here to this such interesting meeting. And it is interesting because not many countries have this kind of journal associations. For example, Bulgaria doesn't. And I find this really, really useful. So, my presentation will consist of 3 parts. The first part will just brief information about Pensoft as a company. The second part will deal a bit with the challenges we all face as publishers, as journals, as society publishing journals, in the current time of disruptive changes in the publishing industry. And the last part will be just a quick presentations of ARPHA, how it works. Okay, some facts about Pensoft. Pensoft is still sufficiently small to be sufficiently flexible. So we have 25 employees. This is our office and headquarters in Sofia, Bulgaria. It was founded in 1992 primarily as a book publisher. But since 10 years, we actively developed journal publishing and journal publishing platform. Pensoft is a publisher, but also technology provider. So, and our products are journals, books, and ebooks, but also we provide journal publishing services, journal publishing platforms, book publishing platform, and also research projects. We participate in several research projects. We have now 22 open access journals. Most of them already, the number of journals which come to us from societies or institutions prevail the number of our own journals. Among them is even the oldest entomological journal in the world, Deutsche Entomologische Zeitschrift, which moved to us from Wiley and from the Berlin Museum, and many others. Close to Christmas Day, they expect to become around 30. We also have a book program. We have published more than 1,000 book titles over these 20 years, but now we have advanced open access publishing platform for books which works on XML. Just 3 examples. Our flagship, first and still flagship journal is Zookeys. It is now the 2nd largest journal in biological systematics ever. It continues to grow. This year, the growth is 34%. The other example is the first society journal which moved to us in 2011, Journal of Hymenoptera Society, which just after the move in 2011 just doubled its size and production. Now it's publishing 6 issues per year in advanced open access, and the society seems to be very happy with that. And the third example is the RIO Journal. Maybe you have heard about RIO Journal, maybe not about Zookeys, but RIO Journal was awarded with Spark Innovator Award winner for 2016. And it is less than a year old. Why so? Because RIO Journal really challenges the boundary of what we understand under academic publishing. RIO Journal publishes all outcomes of a research cycle, starting with your research idea as a separate publication, if you want to, of course, the grant proposal, then the data management plan, then all these important stages of the research cycle which are publicly available and can be a subject of peer review. RIO Journal, the peer review in the RIO Journal is entirely open, transparent, and public. There is no such thing like anonymous peer review there. Authors decide what kind of peer review they will opt for, but they must provide a public and open statement why they selected that type of peer review. It's just transparent. And if the peer review open, authors and reviewers usually really care what they will publish in open. That's the idea behind the quality assurance of that journal. Authors can publish revised versions anytime, and all published articles are mapped to the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, something really important from social point of view. Okay, RIO has a flying start, and just shows that grant proposals and research ideas really needed a journal because they really prevail in the number of publications in that journal. Okay, now we go to the second part of my presentation about what is happening now in the journal publishing world, according to, of course, my personal opinion. So, I would claim that publishers and researchers together really create a kind of bottleneck that hamper progress in science. I will try to argue about that. Why it's so? The first reason is the so-called PDF impediment. To say immediately, PDF is not bad format at all, but PDF-only publishing is really a bad idea. So PDF okay, but only PDF is not okay. Why so? Here is how normally research cycle works in several different sciences. Here we'll see many examples from biology because I'm a biologist by background. It starts with field work, so entomologists look for some bugs, they collect them. Then they identify them, the species, go to DNA sequencing to get genetic data and genomics data. Then the data are assembled and some analyses are being made on the data. Then we, of course, go to a very high-impact journal to submit it. And what we have at the end normally is just a PDF, which is fine for now. But what happened to the data? The real treasury is the raw data, because in this chain, the probability of errors is really increasing. And the largest probability of errors is here, because we don't publish the data. We publish our speculations, our understanding what the data should say to the others. But they can be very wrong. Is there a way to check that? No. No way, because the data are not there. So what happens to the data, to that treasure here? That's what happened. You put somewhere, we put on computers, we put on sticks with the intention to work on them one day, but they are just lost in many cases. This looks like to dig out gold from the sand all the time with a huge effort, and then to bury it again and again and again, like Sisyphus efforts. That's exactly the same when we don't publish the data or don't allow others to reuse our data. Okay, just to illustrate what it means to publish in PDF, this is flora of Bulgaria, even not in English, even not in Latin alphabet. But it's extremely valuable, as any flora of any country. It's a lot of data there. What we have to do to take out this data from the scan, from the PDF, we have to do this. Mark up the name, mark up, let's say, the Bulgarian name, then mark up some other synonym names, or mark up distribution records, mark up ecology, distribution, and to extract this and put into a database so that we can join data with other floras. This is mission, well, it's not impossible, but it's hardly possible. And when we publish only in PDF, we are piling ourselves up with this kind of content which the current forthcoming generation simply will ignore. They will not care about anything which is not accessible as data. So we continue to create problems for ourselves and for the future scientists by publishing in only PDF. Why XML is important? Here is a species name. Here is its XML translation. This is the human-readable form, but this is the machine-readable form. XML is just a computer language, and it says to the computer that Nixonia is not a name of a woman. It is a biological genus name. Computer cannot understand what is Nixonia, otherwise it can't. And it has a species epithet which is masonry, described by Norn and Johnson, and so on and so on. So all this line is translated in this computer code. It says also that it has a figure. You can look at the species of the figure and so on. This part can be read by computers. They can take different pieces of the XML and put automatically into different databases. That's the great meaning of the XML, the machine readability. All right. The second big problem, in my personal opinion, is the mistrust which seemed to increase between scientists and publishers. Some 20 years ago, scientists look at big publishers like at altar of quality, of importance, of everything. It's not anymore so. Because if you read social media networks or some papers in Guardian, in leading world's media, it's a lot of attack against the publishers. Because scientists started to understand that they are doing just business. Just business. Of course, they have really important role. But something starts to happen in the understanding between the researchers and publishers. This is very obvious. So do publishers really manage to follow the very quick progress in science? Do publishers really understand that they should become integral part of the research process? They should take data, publish data, disseminate data, and get data back to the researchers to be reused. Do they understand this? Some do, but many don't. And the answer to those questions can be taken from two tweets from OASPA meeting, the meeting of open access publishers in Washington, D.C. just a month ago. We performed 21st century research, writing up using 20th century tools and publish in a 17th century format. Just a tweet, but rather true. And the more summarizing tweet about that is that down with PDF seems to be the general message at OASPA. It's a bit late message, but good to have this message. OK. So academic publishing is definitely in transition. And we see this transition as moving from open access to open science. Having a PDF in open access doesn't mean much nowadays. Anyone can do that. But putting, let's say, a list of proclamation on the church of the door doesn't mean you are Martin Luther or you have a newspaper. It's much more effort, isn't it, after that, to implement that open knowledge. Human-readable content, of course, it exists and it's improved, but it should be published together along with machine-readable content. Data publishing is switching to data reuse and data reproducibility. Impact factor is not replaced, but it's definitely enriched by article and subarticle level metrics. Publishing is becoming a hard technology-driven service. So technology is not sufficient, but it is imminent in publishing now. And technology becomes a really critical issue for the survival of the journals. OK, now I'm moving to the third part of my presentation. It is presentation of the ARPHA Journal Publishing Platform. ARPHA stands for authoring, reviewing, publishing, hosting, and archiving, all in one place for the first time. So, but why putting all these stages of the publishing process in one place? Now, for example, you can go to Atipon for hosting. You go to a typesetter in India for proof checking and typesetting. You can go to Scholar One or Editorial Manager for online peer review system. So you can use those services. I would say, no, you can't. Only big publishers are able to put these services together in one chain. Because big publishers prefer to work with few major vendors. And few major vendors prefer to work with few major publishers. If a journal or a small publisher, small I mean like us, maybe 20, 30, 50 journals, wants to put all these pieces together and to have a good, modern, efficient workflow, you simply can't. Or even you can break the wall, it will be hardly affordable. Because vendors usually don't pay attention to these small journals and or societies. They simply get more headache from them than money. So it's fine, it's well understandable. Nothing to wonder about. But the result is that small society journals and small institutional publishers and journals now are already in trouble because they start to lose manuscripts. They're under pressure. They see that the things are not going well. Why? Because they don't know, they don't see, they can't modernize so easily. They can't go so easily to XML publishing. They can create for themselves these peer review platforms. And when they go to large vendors, they say, OK, but yeah, maybe not. So, and they are in trouble how to resolve that problem. OGS, it was the solution years ago, Open Journal System. We used it at Pensoft for 3 years. But it's perfect. It's great advancement of open access. We respect OGS a lot, but it didn't modernize over the years. And now if you are on OGS, it doesn't save you from trouble. Now, it was excellent 10 years ago. OK, the second important feature of ARPHA is, in fact, it exists of 2 journal publishing workflows, which can work independently, but they can work also together, just on choice of the journal. So, for example, the XML-based is the workflow of the future, of the near future, starts with writing the manuscript in authoring tool. You can submit your manuscript in Word or PDF. You just start writing your manuscript in authoring tool. Then it migrates to the peer review system, back for revisions to the editors, completely into one online space. You don't work with XML or attached files in emails. It's not possible there. But it's very convenient and fast. So the other workflow is more conventional. You can submit your manuscript as a Word file. It's very much the same we use now. Nothing too special. It's just more, how to say, more intuitive, more easy to use, and so on. A journal can use either one of the workflows, or it can be a combination with the two, with the converter tool, which is included here to switch from Word files to the authoring tool. The journals usually go for the document-based workflow. They are more used to it. But if they go to that workflow, in few years, they can easily switch to the workflow of the future very easily. So it's a kind of preparation. And this workflow, the XML-based workflow, it exists. For now, 4 journals are using it very successfully. OK. The third important point about ARPHA is that it is not just a platform, a software. It is platform plus end-to-end services. And we provide those services which the journal or society wants from us. They can produce the PDF for themselves if they want, no problem. But we also can do the whole chain of services for them if they want to. It's just a matter of choice. The services start with individual website design and setup and maintenance and hosting, and through the all production and publishing process, and they end with journal statistics, management statistics, and also even payments and online accounts if you want that. ARPHA provides white label publishing. What is that? ARPHA allows that we design a special website for you under your logo, your imprint, your details, your contacts. Pensoft is not visible at all. We just provide the platform and some services which we want from the back end. But the main design, the main visuality is on the publisher. This is, for example, a Lithuanian journal which went live yesterday, one of the journals of Vigitu Press. And you can just check it out, how it looks like. Societies, especially small societies, are very happy to have this individual journal platform because it's a kind of their face. So they like to have something like not just a journal within many journals. This is a kind of a platform, a kind of something very serious looking. And it is really so. But also, ARPHA can support multiple journal collections, like collections of publishers. The fifth important point of ARPHA is that it is heavily integrated with important services in the publishing industry. Under integrated, I mean not just we are collaborate with them or are in contact. It's integrated through web services and data exchange, which means that if you publish on ARPHA, it will submit the XML references to Crossref, get back DOIs, submit to archivals through web services. So you are saved from a lot of burden, even after publication. I'm not saying about the process of publication, but after publication, if you want to be visible, if you want to be registered in DOI and all that, it's just work and a burden. And we do this almost automatically. In many cases, fully automatically. So ARPHA is flexible. One can choose from branding models, like publish under Pensoft imprint, societies like that, or co-publish with Pensoft, or publish entirely under your logo. We can provide a quite standard template or individual journal or individual publishers platform design. It's different kind of manuscript input. It's different kind of peer review stages, which I will talk a little bit later about. Its publication output could be only PDF, which we never recommend, but some societies could go for this only. But also semantically enhanced HTML and semantically tagged XML, and also different revenue models. They can be paid by APC, they can be a third-party institutional support, it can be just mixed models. Now I start the demonstration of ARPHA, which will be rather quick, and I will go through authoring and input stage, then submission, peer review, production, semantic enhancements, publication, archiving, and dissemination. All these groups of services are provided by ARPHA and by our team. First, the ARPHA-XML Workflow. It is just a combination between the authoring tool, ARPHA writing tool, that's the name of it, and a journal. In this case, research, ideas, and outcomes is entirely on ARPHA-XML Workflow. So it puts authoring, data import, peer review, publication, dissemination, everything in one online collaborative environment. So there is a start a manuscript button. There is no submit a manuscript button on this journal. You click on it, you go to the ARPHA writing tool main page, you can select the journal, and after selection, only these are article templates. Only those article types which are accepted by this journal appear on screen. You select one of them and start writing your manuscript in the tool. For example, you can invite your co-authors, just entering a name, and if the co-author is in our database, it appears on screen, you click on it, he gets him or she gets email, invitation, and so on. If it's not, you can enter it. You work all the time with your co-authors and peers online. You exchange comments, replies, just like in Google Docs, very similar to it. You can import a figure or video or other multimedia, not just by upload, which is of course possible, but you can also take it from a link. If you cite a figure or replace a figure with other figure, or you just move the figures, they are renumbered and replaced automatically. You don't care about that. There is direct search and import of references. This tool, refined it, is not very well visible. It's a special tool which searches for you for references in Crossref, PubMed, RevBank, it's a special biological database anyway, and DataCite. If you find a reference you need to cite, you click on it, and it goes into your manuscript fully automatically. It's taken online. It is also online import of structured data. You can import the whole table of data into your manuscript, and it is converted into human-readable form. Or you can take data references. Again, these are biological databases, but the principle is there, and the technology is there. You just put the identifiers of the data records you want to use and put in the manuscript. You click, and they go from that database into your manuscript automatically in seconds. Whole tables, quite complicated tables. You import them, and they look like this here. They are in human-readable form. But most important, you download them all the time as structured data from the human-readable article. So you can exchange this format all the time, as many times as you want. And of course, you can do a lot of fancy things, really cool things, like this automated mapping of all geotagged references, play with distributions of species in this particular case, and so on. ARPHA is able to accept the whole manuscript in XML and to create a manuscript from metadata. Metadata, we know that these are the data which describe a data. And if you want to describe your data, you can create a manuscript by putting the XML metadata into the tool, and it formats your metadata into manuscript. And from that point, you can, of course, add information, citation, whatever you want. Just saves the time for copying, pasting, migrating of contents. ARPHA has, the writing tool has a mandatory validation step. You push the validation button, and it checks the manuscript for consistency. Now it says, you missed the background text in your abstract, or table 1 is in the text, but it's not cited. You click there, you go and cite it. What happened? OK. It has a revision history of versions of the manuscripts, and you click, you go to that version. When it comes to submissions to a journal, all this I showed by now is happening in the authoring tool before submission to the journal. So when you go to submission, you can customize here any kind of conditions, policies you want to implement in that journal. The peer review in ARPHA can be 4 types. It can be pre-submission during the authoring process, before submission to the journal, much like it happens in institutional departments. Before you submit your manuscript, you discuss it with the colleagues, and they say OK or not OK. Then you submit after that. Now you can do this within the authoring tool before submission. You can also have a pre-submission technical evaluation in-house in the editorial office. Before submission to the journal, we can check. We do that, in fact, obligatory, which saves a lot of time for the reviewers and editors after you submit it. Sorry, we have this conventional post-submission, but pre-publication review, like editor decides to count them, not to count them. So editor decides. He can invite, usually, or she can invite more reviewers. But it's good to have a manuscript with some recommendations by authority in the field already. And the editors count that. The pre-submission technical evaluation can be working with comments on the manuscript, but also in simple technical evaluation form, which authors should really encounter before they submit to the journal. And they cannot submit a manuscript until they attend to all comments. They should reply. Maybe they disagree with the comment, but they should reply to it. Otherwise, the tool doesn't allow them to submit. It's also community peer review. What does it mean? Here, you see that the reviewers from our database are listed here. Some of them are nominated, some are panel. The editor selects who is nominated, who is panel. Nominated means that you get a review invitation. You have to confirm, would you agree to review the paper, or you just disagree with that, decline. The panel reviewers, there can be many more. You just inform the scientist that such a manuscript is available for review. Don't ask them for confirmation. You don't ask them to say nothing. And many do reviews because they are interested in the subject. And even psychologically, if you have not a deadline that you just are invited to do something which are of interest, you do it. So we get a lot of reviews through the panel review. Post-publication review. Any journal has these comments and reviews with review form after publication. And who is, of course, registered in the system can provide this review. The open and public reviews are published on the website, and they have citation details and DOIs, which makes the evaluation of the reviewers, their work as review very easily, so they can cite even their reviews if they want to. When you invite reviewers, you can use our database, which is already huge. Just click on a name or enter your own reviewer. Then the system generates for you automated email templates, but you can add some personal words, which is really, really important. Otherwise, many people just disregard that. And you can add different personal words for any of these reviewers and click and send these emails. ARPHA is one-stop login system. And when a reviewer gets an invitation or editor gets invitation to do something in the system, he doesn't need to go to the system to put a password or to bother about that. It is auto-logging link. You click on it, you go straight on the manuscript page. On that action you should do at this moment. With, of course, instruction about that on the page, what you have to do, like reviewers' assignment are due in 5 days. As editor, I know that in 5 days I should really invite reviewers. That's what the page says in this case. For journal managers, for managing editors, or editors-in-chief. We created a special accounting. It could be one per week, one per month, or maybe every day, but every day is really depressing, believe me. So who is delay with how many days? And what the action should follow out of that? If you click, you go to the reminder, to the text of the reminder, you can again add personal words, and the reminder is being registered in the system. You get this automatically. You don't need to go to the interface and to check what is happening, because you get emails all the time about different stages. And who, what kind of emails gets is, of course, customizable. At the end, in ARPHA-XML, this is only in ARPHA-XML workflow, all reviews, when the editor has to take a decision, all reviews are consolidated into one online version. They don't need to go to that review to read it and to see, oh, maybe the author didn't count that. What about the other reviewers? They see all reviews here, all comments, all in-text schema together. They can filter the different reviews if they want, but they are all together. It's really a really important feature for everyone who has been editor knows how important it could be. The production process, when the manuscript is already accepted, reviewed, and so on, we have two production processes. In ARPHA-XML, there is no such thing like PDF proof. We work online, and we produce the PDF just on the day of publication at the end. You reply online to the comments, as I already have shown. In the ARPHA-DOC, the more conventional, more standard workflow, we work with PDF proofs, and XML and HTML and semantic layers are created after the PDF proof is approved by the author and by the editor. What is the semantic layer? It's a special module in the platform. It adds some tags to XML, like the tags I already have shown. It provides generic and domain-specific markup. Domain-specific means specific for biodiversity, for economics, for whatever, because there are a lot of domain-specific terms which could be tagged. We use vocabularies and tautologies, a lot of links to external resources, and even assembling on the fly of web profiles for specific terms. For example, automated mapping, as I have shown already. So the tool, if you click on the map, the tool puts a map, online map, on the right panel, and during reading the article, you can explore that map and see it. And if the locality is on Google Streets, you can see the bush where this important invasive species for New Zealand has been recorded during the reading process. You don't need to go to Google Maps for that. Or these are biological taxa. They are really important, and they are used everywhere, not just in biology. If you click on any taxon name which is mentioned in the manuscript, in the published article, then it creates for you, on the fly, in real time, a special web profile for that taxon name, showing its distribution from GBF, which is the most important resource for that, all DNA sequences from GenBank, images, historical literature, only pages where that name has been mentioned in the historical literature, taken from Biodiversity Heritage Library. All literature in PubMed, in Google Scholar, there is also PubMed Central here, and many other things below. So the tool creates this for you so that to make your reading pleasant and efficient. You just read the paper, and you work with this panel, which stays there. You don't need to change panels, for example. Figures. You have listed all figures on the right panel. You can enlarge them, download them, and you can do the same also from the article itself. Tables. This is already a page from the first Lithuanian journal on our platform, which we are really, really proud of, the business theory and practice. So you can enlarge the paper, visualize the table, in the right panel, and continue reading and comparing something. The references are also listed separately if you want to, through these buttons on the right panel. There, if you put the cursor, they are visualized just for convenience here. You can see where they are cited in the text through these arrows. But if you click on the Refind It, the tool will search for that reference in online so that you can get to the source itself, to the actual paper, if it exists online, of course. But many do, of course. So the article information. Here you see the author's names. It could be good if they have photos, but also the editor, one of your colleagues here. And here you can check the author, how he or she is present in Crossref, in PubMed, in Google Scholar. Again, online. Archiving on the day of publication. So just next day, or even during the same night when an article is published, it goes automatically to Zenodo. Zenodo is the biggest archive which is hosted in CERN in Switzerland. So it's a public archive of huge importance. They go the same way also to Clocks, another important archive, and anywhere we want to. Subarticle level metric. Why subarticle? Here are the visits, again from a paper which was published yesterday, the visits of the whole article, PDF, XML, HTML, separately from each other. But you can see here that each figure, each table has its own accounting. How many times your figure or table has been used. A really globally unique feature of ARPHA. This is the published article. You can, only authors, I think even only submitting authors can see that button. If you click on it, your article is moved back into the editing mode, into the authoring tool. You can revise it and publish it under a new DOI and link that DOI to Crossmark in Crossref. So it's official, revised version of your paper for some reasons. It provides also journal management statistics, like, let's say, number of submissions, growth, and whatever, average number of page numbers, whatever. Something really important for the journals who want to stay on the market. That's not just dissemination, that's the PR effort. This is a spider, tarantula spider, very poisonous one, named after Johnny Cash. So the world media picked this up, thanks to our efforts and contacts. The author has been approached by Sky News, and they made a video with the spider in his home. So when an author has a call from Sky News about his finding, believe me, authors are really happy, and they say, that's my journal. Just forget about the others, if you can provide this service to them. Or it's a ant which has been discovered in the stomach of a very poisonous frog in Ecuador. It's called even Il Diablo, the devil's frog. And this ant is new to science. So it created a lot of splash on the world media. It appeared on BBC, it appears in everywhere, this kind of discovery, because the public really like that. They really like that and enjoy that kind. They also enjoy the work of scientists who discovered that. They start to understand that these scientists who are just like Paganel looking for bugs and so on, they do important job. They start to realize that, the public, the laypersons. ARPHA is at the end a low-cost but high-tech solution. Just a few slides about the future, and I'm finishing. In the coming years, ARPHA will be focusing on open science practices, develop open science practices, exporting the part of the metadata and part of the content of the articles into linked open data, and creating a knowledge base from that. Also, we develop an interface for nanopublication, and nanopublication is a simple assertion of a fact, of a subject and object. But this assertion, like, let's say, VGTU is an abbreviation of a publisher based in Lithuania, for example. It has the provenance, how you came to that assertion and where you have published that. It is not just free assertion. It has its own metadata, details. So one can, with sophisticated technology, link all these different, it's millions, billions of assertions, and you can create and extract new knowledge thanks to links which you otherwise are not able to do at all. This is just a kind of technology to do that. Well, just as a summary, ARPHA is end-to-end publishing solution and services. It is, maybe it's immodest to say that, but this is really technologically advanced and innovative. It provides wide-level publishing. It is modular and flexible. It does near sourcing. Near sourcing means to source, to ask for services which are near your home. You don't need to go overseas for services. You go within the European Union, in this case, Bulgaria. And it is also affordable. So I would be happy to discuss a better home for your journal if you want to find a new home for your journal. To discuss platform services and publishing models, there is a button on the website of ARPHA, which you can simply send or just write me or follow us on Twitter. And that's my final slide. I really like open science because all this I tried several times in the past was totally impossible in the subscription-based world. So much blocked by large publishers that other publishers simply cannot penetrate that market. Now we did, thanks to open access and open science. Thank you.